I'm forced to return to the digital samsara. The tide goes in, the tide goes out. I'm forced to watch Leadhead content. Why is it so big? Fucking Leadhead, you fucking. Oh my god. Such a preener and everything. Even obnoxiously making the window size an ungodly theater size just cuz. Cringe, 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 cringe. Slight. She's trying. She, he, they. She, he. Tee hee. She's trying to punish us. It's so gaudy on my screen. Meanwhle, we can fucking match. What can we learn on Twitter that isn't going to annoy the piss out of me? Nothing, 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 porn, 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 nothing, nothing, porn, porn. Somebody's speaking about trans politics. More people speaking about the Eurogamer's Arcade article. That just feels like a fucking jip. That just feels like a fucking jip to do. Ugh. Disgusting. Hello, Bosser. We're waiting for the Negrohood to catch up, wake up, and get up. About chaos energy. Have to buy something small. Guess it's just something that's from the 20s. I'll deal with getting Rebecca later. Now, his arena's open. Yes. I mean, the news cycles within the last 2, 3, 4 days have been nothing but the same news story over and over again being repeated between the same people. Since the release of my video, the behavior that I've noticed and that I commented on is continuing to happen. The narrative has now moved for Yote from the game is bad and it's going to not sell to the game has sold blockbusters and we want it to fail to the game is succeeding but now it didn't make as much to the game is bad but people are making it succeed but we don't like it so it's actually dog shit. Hey, look over there, is that an article that's talking about Arc Raiders? Let's go talk about Arc Raiders, while at the same time refusing to cede the ground that the supposed gamer boycott that was supposed to make the game lose has not worked. then the Arc Raiders article itself is people not understanding what consent is, as they decide to say, I hate this game because it has AI generation, despite the fact that the AI generation requires use of live IRL actors that have signed a contract where they have voice rights and they have their voices being used only to interpolate for new content to work on the update schedule that people are demanding the game has. So, game gets an update, new weapon. In order to get the voice lines for the point out and the call out for the new weapon, they take the lines that they have recorded from the first sessions done and the many sessions that are being done continuously with those actors that have done the work on hand and that have signed said contract to just simply interpolate that content to the speed at which they are adding new content. Now, I understand why there are people who have their opinion. However, the general opinion is basically, I hate this game and I'm not even going to review the content inside of it because I decided that I don't understand how consent works, basically. I know that I'm asking for more content, and I know that my need for more content is creating more needs for them to have to use this. And they already signed a contract, they already worked out the higher points, they have made it so that no one's being affected, they've made it so that the actors are being compensated, and that they're being paid at all times, and that it is not in perpetuity a license that then takes advantage of their voices. And they're not just doing it out of nothing, but I hate it because AI, boo, boo, AI, boo. Any talking point that exists about Helldivers has been replaced with whatever particular glaze shit is still going on with Dispatch, and people being horny for Dispatch, mostly. So quite frankly, some Leadhead content is fucking worthy. But I don't have just Leadhead content, I also got Pirate Software content. Well, that's wonderful. And apparently I got a nice call out from Nerd City, as Jay just shared with me in my DMs. So really, like, all of the content has just been bleh, with a side of bleh. It is what it is. Between that and my kitchen being broken, I'm not exactly happy about the layers of shit that's happening to me. Because, like, I try to get myself solid, I try to get myself on a stable base, I get fucked in the ass by the universe. I try to get myself solid, I try to get myself on a stable base, I get fucked in the ass by the universe. I try to get myself solid, I try to get myself stable, I try to put myself on a fair base, still getting fucked in the ass by the universe. I think we have everything. Oh, yeah, and there's this cringe fucking reaction video of Smash City looking around and walking around what I can only assume is his home, saying about the numbers. Imagine if there were an alternate reality where the numbers didn't work out the way that they did here. Then I'd imagine that they would have lost. There's that too. I almost forgot he did that. Oh. And put some fucking earbuds on! You're in public! as they say in English, masterwork and Death Stranding. Keep on keeping on. I mean, I'm trying, bro. I want my appliances to stop breaking in my house. Alright. Let's talk to the gate here. And then begin with the lead content. Now I'm catching the arena. Alright. Begin the bullshit. Actually, first. Am I on the right screen? No, I'm not. That's not the right one either. That's not the right one either. That's the right one. Click. Okay. Now we can begin. So we start out with one of those fucking artsy fartsy starts that like that they love to do. This is gonna get really pedantic really fast. This is what all queers see when they go to heaven. It's just a long tunnel line of darkness and street lights, and then you hear some gay-ass music approaching you, and something that's equivalent to a small minivan cube, but it's effable to a Vespa. Its translucent lights draw you in, and you have to ask yourself, am I watching Let the Right One In? Truthfully cringe. Truthfully cringe. And so we start with our first sigh. And at this point, we now must ask ourselves, with all these colors and translucence and iridescence, am I accidentally watching I Saw the TV Glow?
You ever think about how many jobs we have that are just completely fake?
I mean, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by jobs that are completely fake? Do you mean like esports? Which is a completely fake jobs that exist just so that sovereign pigs can be able to make more money off of a sport that is now getting invaded and taken over in a significant fashion that has no actual reaction to reality? Because that was always the case, Leadhead. That was always the case. Not only was it always the case, it was always the case when it came to a lot of supposed real and fake jobs, that the people involved in them, inside them, don't truly understand what it's like to be a part of the job market that they have created for most people to enjoy. And it is irritating to watch at the limitation of most of people's interests, because most jobs to most people are considered not real.
I've been waiting for you. I am Mr. Chaos, the leader of Wish Arena. You've been through many trials and proved yourself worthy of my attention.
That is to say, how many jobs contribute absolutely nothing to the world that anybody would actually want?
So that's not exactly a relevant clause, right? So, jobs that don't contribute anything to the world that people don't want to be a part of. What classifies as a job that has no value, that does not actually contribute to the world? I would say that being a Starbucks barista does supply some level of benefit to the world for the people who can afford expensive coffee made for them on machines that they could buy in their houses. I would say that doing the job of a hazmat consideration, any type of job that deals with hazard pay, is a job that is worth doing, despite the fact that most people never see it, therefore they never truly experience it. Setting up transformers, setting up power lines, delivering power to rural areas, setting up power poles, dealing with matrices, dealing with the maintenance of those transformer lines and networks, fixing power poles, fixing cable, fixing internet lines, laying fiber optic internet lines, supplying internet to places that originally did not have it, laying bricks, laying roads, building houses, laying sewer lines, doing plumbing, home care, child care, elderly care, food service, general transportation service. What is a job that provides no benefit and no value, that is actually viable towards the conversation of no value whatsoever? Because everything has value. Everything has value, Leadhead. The only time something doesn't have value is when the value is not expressed by the value created by the people who are part of the project. Which is to say, if you don't care about it, it has no value to you. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have value to someone else. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't have value to society. A ditch digger makes more money than I currently do right now. The only true thing in society that has no value and only truly has value based on the people who are enjoying it and considering it is entertainment media. We do the job that has no value, Leadhead. Mind you, it only has no value if it basically serves empty calories. If you're not informing anybody about anything, if you're not telling anybody about anything, if you're claiming that by doing any kind of job that by proxy is considered useless, it is transferring Hitler particles through the air, I'm going to laugh at you. More than I already usually do. Because that's stupid. Like, even in that, lolcaldom for the bread tube right wing and left wing has value. It provides money. We get to talk about your dumbass behavior and make money off of that behavior. Even BreadTube has a purpose in being a cautionary tale. Truly. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Because outside of brain-dead entertainment media, that could be considered streamer content, there is no job in society that is useless as long as somebody's willing to pay for it. Even within there, the idea that no job has no value as long as someone's willing to pay for it even makes it possible for us to justify making money off of this job that we do here in front of our cameras. The only difference is when you do it, when Xanderhall does it, when Innuendo Studios do it, when Keffel does it, when Vosh does it, when Destiny does it, when any person who used to be a part of their own community that has spun off from any of these bigger figures that have become lolcows in their own right do it, you guys make it very easy to hate any person who does this job and thinks of themselves as a revolutionary instead of as a fucking idiot who lucked themselves into a fandom that gives them cash. Like, the social and economic unit of value being a beloved argument for dumbasses is half the reason we find ourselves in dire scenarios and situations describing issues and politics that come up towards the value of ethics and labor. And yet, the worst of the worst lolcows I can pick out of that list of breadtubers, such as DJ Mule. For someone like DJ Mule, Red Cake from Mars, formerly our human Lazel companion, in the form of Kirachats, formerly Bad Bunny, and anybody else that he had or is with on the Red Planet podcast, if they can't be able to find value in a normal job, and they can't somehow find a job, while all of you grift money off of your audiences to begin with anyways, is it really likely to say that you actually have some type of value that you're willing to express and give that you wouldn't already be giving at that job in the first place? Like, it's like watching Alexander cope with his bullshit. Is it just me, or is Carl incredibly quiet? No, that would be possible from the microphone. Let's see if that fixed anything. You guys don't understand the value of a dollar, is the problem at the end of the day, Leadhead. Like, you guys don't understand the value of a dollar, and you actively do not understand what it means to actually have work ethic. Because you just hate people in general, and you hate monetization in general. And yet, not a single one of you motherfuckers can lift a goddamn spatula and go be a fry cook. Because you're not actually willing to do some of what you would think is the most basic job possible. Which is bizarre itself, because one of those jobs that is valuable in that is food service. Y'all motherfuckers don't see any value in that. Because you're going to be the first ones in line to say, you need to pay us a livable wage, but not a single one of you motherfuckers are willing to bust a double. Not once. Not once. Hell, even in your content creation, you niggas can't bust a double. What's going on, buddy? What's wrong, buddy? What's wrong, guy? What's wrong, Doug Funny? Can you not make money during a year of politics where Trump's in office? Wow, what a loser! One more impression on my list. Check. Where did Roger come from? Anyways, you see SpongeBob. You see SpongeBob. Sponge me boy me Bob. You have to understand that you guys have a horrible work ethic when it comes to your follow-through with things. Sure, life gets in the way a lot. And sure, life gets in the way a lot, and sometimes you get set behind, where it is uncomfortable to be put in the position where you are dealing with the problems that came from that setback. But you're not capable of doing what you need to during a time where you should be able to have infinite material to work off of. Me, going through the evolution of starting out as a satirist and a video game enthusiast, becoming an independent games journalist in my own right, on my own channel, while at the same time sliding into the role of Asmongold but Black, it is very odd watching people have this inability to respond to basic concepts and basic benefits because they are not willing to actually look into the content they're doing. And as I was mentioning, the fact that it usually comes down to a never-ending cycle of news that is propagated and perpetuated by people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and invariably claim that they have the secret sauce when they in fact do not, and they themselves also have bad work ethics, but because they sucked enough cock, or because they kissed enough ass to get to a position that they're in, that they then have the privilege, air quote privilege, to be involved in a never-ending news story about their own failure to understand the medium upon which they are grifting. It is ineffable that both of you result in the exact same level of loser that nobody wants to be around on the internet.com. Like Demon Mama abandoning people like Xander Hall, just as much as they abandoned their other friends, like anyone who was from BreadTube, anybody who was from CornBreadTube, and having to disappear into the trans hole because no one's going to defend them because they don't have any big allies with platforms that are willing to spotlight them because they can't stop doing cringy shit where they can't stop grooming their fans. For people like you, Leadhead, whose personal life is a toilet that we all watch flush every now and again whenever you post a video, and we say, okay, what new content is she going to talk about herself for? It is only interesting when you are hurting yourself, and it's not interesting when you're helping yourself. Just like the supposed leaders of the consumer revolt do the same thing when they are effectively lying through their teeth, knowing for a fact they don't give a fuck about any of the things they're talking about, and it's just a way for them to keep the attention on themselves as they continue to cycle through those topics with the same tired talking points on their friends' podcasts, on their friends' channels, on their friends' panels, only to repeat the same trash either on Twitter, on X, on TikTok, or behind the paywall on YouTube or whatever other platform, because they are actually scared of people going through their material and pointing out whether or not they are solid in what they're talking about. It is the case that happens way too fucking often. And ironically enough, the people who are supposed to be able to demonstrate what that looks like, Friday Night Tights, for example, they have done everything possible to set up what that kind of network actually looks like. And you can't really fault them for it. Like, it is the one methodology that is successful when it comes to consumer content creation. The amount of people that are rewarded by proxy, not even needing to be directly related to the topic, but just simply are rewarded by proxy to the topics that are covered by Every Frame of Pause, by the Friday Night Tights, which then covers the entirety of the Fandom Menace, and then for channels such as Jesterbell, which are in opposition to accounts such as Fictional Darling. Fictional Darling willing to lie about Marvel products, just like Straw Hat Goofy is willing to lie about Marvel products and video games, the same way upon which 8-Bit Closed Fist and the Mighty Keith and the Black Hokage and other creators air quote, and influencers like that are willing to lie about content or attempt to monetize the same drama cycles on content. Channels like Jesterbell demonstrate a removement from the never-ending drama cycle and just simply giving an opinion abreast with nothing more than their personal opinion and information from the source, which goes alongside people like Vara Dark, which also goes alongside people like, I'm forgetting her name. I remember her real name, but I'm forgetting her name. She is the comic creator of O-Girl. I know she has a very annoying to spell last name that's Italian. Trisha Kafari? Trisha Puff? Is that the name that's on my brain? Comic Girl? Yes, that one. You've got this happening across all of the mediums of creativity and interest. And it is only benefited by the fact that people find value in their jobs. Because they bring something that other people don't have. And it's not intelligence, it's passion. They don't hate the product that they're a part of. And because they don't hate the product that they're a part of, and they're not nepotistically looking for ways to make the news about themselves, but also never endlessly browbeating people about politics, such as Palestine, they're able to make money off of it. And it's not making money off of the topic, and it's not making money off of their audience. It's simply existing through the times. They built something for themselves in their own ways, each of them, even including Aspen Gold. They built something for themselves, and they are being rewarded for it by staying consistent and staying the tide. Meanwhile, what are you doing? Now, excuse me, I need to go to the kitchen. I'll be right back. I return. Ah, fuck me. I'm gonna watch that parody video later. I need to remind myself. Alright.
Like, you ever think it's weird how the US government knows how much you're supposed to pay in taxes, but they don't tell you, and then you can be prosecuted if you pay the wrong amount?
What a weak, basic bitch fucking Antifa opinion. Fucking Christ almighty. Oh! Yes, it is very annoying when the government decides to tell you that you owe taxes, but it's their job to make you figure it out for them so they can tax you that amount of money. Yes, Leadhead, that's very annoying. Nobody likes fucking taxes. The government is not a very big fan of getting people on their side because the people in government are retarded. And they are retarded because they're boomers that need to long since give up their positions and be replaced by new blood. But the new blood is also people who are fucking stupid as hell that do not understand how to do their job and how to do the goal that they are a part of. So they create a cycle of balance where it is retards that don't know how to do the job and young people who don't actually see the bigger picture. And both sides think that they're trying to solve for the problem of the other. And it just makes all of you fucking annoying with the rest of us who want to not be bothered by the politics and also not bothered by the retards. This is where you get opinions like Not So Erudites, where Kyla believes that actually, as a part of the forever war position and the holding pattern position, that you cannot do something dealing with the criminals that are inside of jails because they are recidivistic and they refuse to do their job, which is becoming a member of functional society. Not a big fan of the government. We are not a big fan of the government. Thank you, Buster. You have people who are committing crimes constantly.
Put some fucking earbuds on! You're in public!
And because they constantly commit crimes, you then say, nothing can be done about this. These people need to be rehabilitated. And I'm telling you, yes, you can rehabilitate the people who want to change. First-time offenders, no problem. Tax avoiders, people who have been victimized unfairly by the system, they need to be given a fair shake and a chance to rejoin society like normal individuals, especially if they know they have no job being inside a fuck me in the ass, pound me in a pooper prison, and not just simply county. But no, I'm not going to give the 15-time career criminal another chance to commit more crimes. I'm going to destroy them by trans girl gassing and or sapphic lesbian firing squad, and or any other methodology of cruel and unusual punishment that I can think of and that we can crowdsource in my audience and in the chat rooms of other audiences that cross over with mine. Because they don't need to be there. They are a waste. They are a waste on the taxpayer's dime. I don't need to be funding a criminal's ability to get education that then they will use to then become more advanced at their crimes. Other than, unironically, creating the IMF to put criminals to use for American espionage, there is no other result than to the gas chamber. That's where the question between Kevils and Leadhead should become the most dangerous transgender question of all. And maybe even that's too far. Maybe even that's too cruel and unusual. But something's gotta be done, goddammit! And I'm the only one being inventive enough to think of the answers!
That's because, Intuit, the owners of TurboTax, have extensively lobbied against all sorts of tax reform proposals that would simplify the process.
Wah, 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 wah. They took away the ability to do this. Wah, 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 wah. So, do you think that there's no value to people who do financial work, like accountants? Isn't that a thing that if we had received it during our generation's time, Leadhead, you'd have a lot more people who are financially stable if they understood how to do things like money, as much as they understood how to have sexual discipline, just as much as they could understand how to be able to romantically involve themselves with proper partners that have good, long-standing, long-term goals for their life? Don't you think those are things that also have value? Does a dating coach have value, Leadhead?
Make it more intuitive. In other words, a whole bunch of people lobby for a bunch of politicians to create an artificial demand for a web app that a bunch of other people have to create and maintain. It sounds like a lot of wasted man hours, if you ask me.
To who? Specifically to you! Which means it's not wasted man hours! The only wasted man around here is you. I'm so clever.
Alright, hey, how about the lawyers at great big law firms whose entire strategy for most cases is to create mountains upon mountains of redundant paperwork for other lawyers to sort through?
I'm sorry, are you now trying to get into the Jewification of the law business? I don't think you want to go there, Leadhead. Because now you talk about value with the people who have the best value of all. Is it considered not valuable if it ends up being something that gets people time, money, and interest into your issues and problems that can then be addressed as an actual value structure upon those that are the haves and have-nots? I would argue that it is the case that they have a valuable job, Leadhead. It is as valuable to have lawyers as it is to have typewriters. And it is as valuable to have typewriters as it is to have women and men and trans men and trans women in a job where they have shown meritocracy. Otherwise, you're just coping and seething. You're just coping and seething about not liking how they do things. And that's not a justification for why things cannot be done. Okay? You understand that? You get that? Let it stick in your mind. Let it become a part of your craw. You don't get to decide who is valuable and who is not. Because that is really fucking stupid. That is really fucking stupid. To say with any level of seriousness that is close to solving of problems. Okay? You have to accept that there are some things that are easier than others. And some things that are easier than others are getting people on the same page and working on the same topics and working on the same issues and trying to solve the same problems when it comes to the issues that of what we have not yet expected to be a part of a person's outcome and looks in life. Okay? That's just a part of the experience. Is it a fair part of the experience? I'd probably say no. Not really. But it is a part of the experience. And it is a part of the experience that you've decided to design for yourself that somehow now has all of the value, but none of the value. Despite being the thing that you've made it into, which is a game. This is a game to you. I don't want to play your game. I want to play my game. That's why I'm playing my game while I listen to your obnoxious bullshit.
These people are employed, but do folks working positions like that really have a job in society?
Yes! Because you always need to have a person who understands legalese better than the next guy. Because if you don't have somebody in your corner who understands legalese better than the next guy, then those people get fucked in the ass, Leadhead! There is as much as a reason for you to have a Jewish lawyer as much as it would be to have a Jewish trans lawyer. Do you know why? Because a business could get taken over overnight by somebody not being able to fight back against an obvious bullshit paperwork storm. And assuming you have somebody in your corner who is then willing to do the work, that person would then be able to tell you in the most trans way possible, which I guess would also be the most drag way possible, what you'd need to do to protect yourself from people trying to take advantage of you and your content. Doesn't matter how cringe they would do it. It just matters that they would do it. And they would do it in a way that you would understand. I don't care if Laverne Cox herself were to waltz into this room and they were to propose to me an idea where it's her and Hunter Shaver as trans lawyers working in New York City alongside the who's who of Broadway to demonstrate that if you've got to do business and somebody's trying to fuck over people on things like housing and rent control, a term funnier than ball busters. Okay? Don't care who you get. You could get RuPaul. You probably get Natasha Lyonne. Maybe get the voice actress for, or the voice actor. No, voice actress. For Bobby Hill. Her name is slipping my mind. Pamela Adkinson? Yes. And a bunch of other people. And you can make an entire buddy comedy out of it. Because it's valuable to have jobs. It's valuable to have value. If you don't see the value in them, that does not mean that they don't have value. It just means you're blind to the actual value. And that is no one's fault but your own. Coping. Coping is what that is. Coping is what that does. And it's ironic that you would be such a person that would turn your nose up at meritocracy, because it means that you don't understand how that process works. And you certainly don't care for it. We already knew that. But it's short-sighted ideas and opinions like that that demonstrate a reason why we don't trust certain individuals with problems and results. Because you just don't get it. It doesn't. You don't care. It doesn't matter to you. It's not real. It's just a suggestion. This idea of how to protect yourself legally, how to protect yourself financially, how to protect yourself socially. You implore and condemn the work of others onto the job, but you're not willing to do the part of the job that needs to be done yourself, because it's not real to you.
What about scam callers or landlords or people?
Landlords are a job. They created the value by creating a place for you to then rent out of. Are there shitty landlords? Yes, there are shitty landlords. That's where you get your trans lawyer to bend him over and say, "Hey, Goyim, you better do what the fuck I said, or I'm about to Shabbat Shalom you in court for everything you're goddamn worth." Isn't that what you elected Momney to do? Despite the fact that he is a rootin' tootin' fucking cowboy that's going to fuck your city into the goddamn ground in New York? Isn't that what you hired those kinds of people to do? Isn't that what you wanted them for? Is that not the politicking that you wanted and you asked to get? Better fucking close your eyes and open wide and get ready for a big surprise, because you gonna get fucked in the ass when you realize what he actually is. But never you mind that. I'm just some dub shut. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Political content? What's that?
People who pump and dump meme cryptocurrency, or the guys who came up with personalized pricing or EA Origin, or the folks that use AI to make horrible shorts about the...
So many things just happened and just now. Back.
If you ask me. Or, hey, how about the lawyers at great big law firms whose entire strategy for most cases is to create mountains upon mountains of redundant paperwork for other lawyers to sort through?
Already talked about it. Skill issue, get good.
Yes, these people are employed, but do folks working positions like that really have a job in society?
Yes, if I'm willing to pay them for the project and I'm able to pay them their wage, they are capable of earning a value that I'm then able to extract monetary compensation from. Yes, 100%.
What about scam callers or...
People who do scam calls are just running inefficiency. They are doing something to actively make money off of people that they otherwise would not get, or would otherwise not be able to scam out of people if it was something of actual value that they were trying to communicate and collaborate through the other people. No, they're not really real jobs. But it's more effort than most of you all put in on a fucking Tuesday afternoon. So, what are we really talking about? Even then, if I wanted to be as tongue-in-cheek and as mean as I possibly could be, you motherfuckers are not valuable people at the end of the goddamn day. You're really not. You're not valuable people. You don't put in the efficacy of what you really are worth. And you antagonize everybody this way till Sunday about being someone who's being punished to exist. And it's cringe. In every single way possible, it is cringe. It is gay, it is cringe, it is annoying, it is embarrassing, and it is disgusting. And it is also tiresome to hear you complain and whine like this when it comes about any issue. But furthermore,
landlords or people...
Landlords have jobs. Their job is to literally upkeep a property which was probably originally their forever home before they got another forever home and rented out that forever home for them to accrue value, where if they don't do their job, they lose the ability to be landlords.
People who pump and dump meme cryptocurrency, or
that is influencers like the hd2guide girl that effectively made money off of the stupid people in their audience. People who would have been fully informed about how to deal with things such as those monetization processes if they themselves didn't just basically take other people's words for it and actually did their own investigation and their own research into the content creators that they're supporting. So, just like any person who becomes a victim of a scam, you are responsible for the fucking content creators you give money to, just as much as you are responsible for the buttons you press.
or the guys who came up with personalized pricing, or
people who came up with a concept that then sold that concept and made money off of it. That is a value, that is a job. You should know what that's like, but you don't know how to do that because you're a lazy person.
EA Origin, or the folks.
EA Origin is a platform that makes sales and sales numbers. It might not be something that you like, and it might not be something that you see value in, but somebody saw value in the system, and they make money off of it. Boy, hell, do they make money off of it. They make money off of it in a way that's very annoying, with a very dumb pricing point and a very dumb system that causes things like me trying to be able to get the goddamn God game support to work, despite having paid a proper full license for it, that requires me to have to go through the hop, skip, steps, and jumps for that job, where I need to call the fucking EA service, I need to tell them that their shit's not fucking working, I have to go through the process and steps of how, when I bought the shit, I already got a free license that then has multiple extra steps that had to be followed in order for them to be worked out properly, that at this point in time is still a fucking lazy part of the process that is very annoying to have to address. All of those things are jobs, metaphorically and technically speaking. And while annoying, they are things that I have to be willing to give consideration towards. And remember, there is a human behind the screen that is doing the job of troubleshooting the reason why I cannot get my product to function. Even through the storefront, even through the support staff, even through the many bots that might be getting controlled by the same one person. That in and of itself is still a valuable job. Cope.
They use AI to make horrible shorts about The Simpsons predicting Elon taking over the White House and Marge helping Trump to bring the U.S. into a digital dark age.
That itself was just fucking gobbledygook. But to extract from that, the nightmare that is the very issue I was talking about earlier, which is people not understanding how AI art generation works. Yes, that is a job. Unfortunately, most of the people that want to do that as a job are not very good with their ideals. Because the thing that you can't do with AI is create something that doesn't already exist. In order to have the vision for something and to make that vision look good, you have to be able to come up with it and then feed it to the generator. It does not have the ability to create that of its own volition. If it tried to, it would create a hodgepodge of a digital girl that doesn't actually exist and isn't actually real. Which would look like an eldritch abomination to us. Which is why this human does not exist and this girl does not exist, or pieces of content that exist in a general proprietary, no matter how dumb you might think they actually are or feel like. They exist in not a vacuum, but exist inside of a spectrum of conversations on the topics and on the matter of the material that is worth giving money to and giving interest towards. Even then, they have a job. They have value. It's just on whether or not you value the thing that it's supposed to be a part of. I would argue, no, probably not. You probably don't have to make the argument that it's something you have to give attention towards and you have to supply support to, because it's not really true value. It is a type of value. A type of value that other people consider to be valueless. Which in and of itself is cringe, because it's not really value. It's value within the perspective of this apparent opinion upon which the rest of the energy follows suit. Which in and of itself is still gay and cringe. So rather than being value provided by people who actually care about the material context of AI and art in general, it is instead a form of value that is expressed by an industry towards other people who want to make something of value towards that job, and only in the capacity of what they consider to be worth it. Which in and of itself is cringe. Relatively in and of itself, it is cringe. In that fashion. Not much you can really do about that. Because that implores that you're going to actually take interest on yourself and decide to do something about that lack of consistency. But I know that you're not going to do shit about AI art because you have opinions on art that are as valuable as your opinions on the world. They're not very. Furthermore, on the concept of AI, if you can find a person that can be able to make things with AI that is actually interesting towards the greater circumstance, it doesn't matter. Anyways, that's not me saying fuck artists, because I'd be effectively saying fuck myself, and I'm not fucking myself out of money. However, it's the same thing that Jay said when she was talking about AI art generation. The entire purpose of AI art is the same thing as people being told to learn to code. Realistically, even while they were mogging people and saying, you don't have real jobs, you don't have real value in society, your value is to work as wage slaves that get in the cock cage and do effective bullshit for whatever value you desire. It is the worst thing, yet it is the best thing. Because technically, this elevates you out of a position where, for the low cost of possibly even $5 you can learn to take a microcomputer and create a fucking script that then makes you money for the thing it is that you want to do, that then gets valued by other people. Because it gives you the ability to program something that then has some level of feedback that you can now use to justify why you get paid a certain amount of money, or get paid a certain amount of dollars, or you get supplied a certain amount of effort for the shit that you choose to invest into. This is effectively a non-argument for some of the people involved, because it doesn't matter to them. Because it's not real to them in that way. I remember, if you don't, Leadhead, I remember when those people said that you need to learn to code, and were bragging about the fact that they could mock people about the fact they were telling them to learn to code. And yet, none of you seem to have wanted to put that energy to use. You're just doing the same cringy thing you did before, which is acting like you didn't just tell people to get bent and to get fucked and to watch the world replace them with no way of putting them back into order, because guess who was taking those jobs from the AI coding and from coding in general? Minorities. And just as it applied to those people being replaced in those jobs, both in food service and specifically in the industries, who was the one that told those people that they're not going to have a world to look back to, they're not going to have a culture to be able to keep, and they're not going to have a method to feed themselves and their family unless they effectively did what they considered to be the shameful thing that many of you mocked them about, which was a prognostication of the positions you were about to find yourselves in when it was your turn to experience the cultural enrichment of migrants invading your country. In way too many numbers, with no loyalty to the people in general, to value extort and value extract. The same shit, Leadhead. Ugh, you make my teeth hurt.
Our society pays these people to produce nothing, or at the very least, nothing that any reasonable person could possibly want produced. What about the folk who clock in every single day at the metaverse Chipotle?
I mean, I don't know. What is a metaverse Chipotle? I know it's in the title of your video, but I want to understand what a metaverse Chipotle is. Is it like VR chat, where you are making stuff, but you're also wearing an AI rig, so you make yourself look like a giant fucking wolf dog with a naughty penis? Is that what that is? If that's what that is, I'm gonna laugh at you. Because that's inherently funny. Oh my god, I can't be able to find a job. I have to put on this stupid shitty VR rig and say, Ohayo gomaisu, so I can be able to make money and live. Oh! And at that point, Wow, I can't believe you're complaining about doing the same job as a VTuber. I can't believe you hate money like that. Better get your bread up, bro. Endless jokes. Endless humor. Endless comedy.
This is a video about the redundancy that comes with any individualistic society. It's about how the empty promise of an American dream is a horrible thing to organize a society around. It's about how material conditions should dictate political philosophy and not the other way around. It's about universal basic income and taxes and unemployment and the stock market.
Yap, 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 of left-wing things, yap, 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 yap. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be more about how you're supposed to care about your downtrodden fellow man. But, you know. One out of one isn't that bad.
This is a video about what I learned when I smoked the digital spliff, and how the sweetness of its vapor only served to rot my teeth.
So, did you get permission from Chipotle to use their iconography in your content? Because if you didn't, I'm gonna tell on you. I'm gonna tell on you.
My first double blinker on the digital spliff was about 7 years back when I...
Also, did you just admit to theft from your job? And she wouldn't be able to steal Keurig without the support of her patrons. Of revenue is in the blinkers, comments. Ad revenues for suckers. No, steal music. Okay. Also, you just admitted to stealing music. Why did it look like Keurig to me? Anyways, stealing music, cringe. Why don't you pay those artists with their worth? Something Metallica, something Napster. And also, did you ask them for the ability to use their iconography for your content? I bet you didn't. I'm still tattling on you.
My first double blinker on the digital spliff was about 7 years back when I created my YouTube channel. The head buzz was incredible. Suddenly I went from being a 19-year-old with absolutely no direction in life to being a person.
Who overuses colors and sounds and creates a nauseating phantasmagoria experience that nobody appreciates because it's all too fucking much at once.
Someone with real opinions that people actually cared about. I spent my entire life in...
I can promise you, your audience, if they care about you, would be asking you to quit tomorrow because your opinions are trash. They are trash, Leadhead. Trash. It is likely that they have always been trash, but they're really fucking stinkers when you actually apply them to social economic theories, because you don't understand the value of a dollar.
Such an individualistic culture, but I had finally become an individual of my own. As the years went on, my channel was super successful. People were stalking me, and I was living in this great big apartment all on my own, and my solitude meant that I could do whatever I wanted to all day. People were buying t-shirts with my branding on them. Could press a couple buttons on my phone and people would deliver mozzarella sticks straight to my door. And whenever I felt lonely, I could, just go to my Discord server and watch people post memes about me.
Well, you see, now we have to ask the question, what's the monetizable theories of ethics for your audience, As a lead farmer, what is the actual value of allowing you to think that you are more important than you are? What is the actual monetary interest? Does it have one? I would probably argue it doesn't. Not really. The interest of such a thing that we're working towards and working for does not have true economic potential through the minds, hands, and mouths of people like yourself, Leadhead. Instead, That's value that your audience is doing for you with material focus of making you interesting. So, did you pay them for making you interesting? Did you pay them for making you a person of focus? Did you pay them for this level of engagement and involvement? Do you actually like being engaged and involved with them? Is it something that brings you joy? Do you actually like the people that you're streaming and that you're broadcasting, you're making content with? Or is it just another part of the cope loop? You say things that you don't mean, but hope that they result in the thing that you hope they result in. Ideally, this has an answer. I doubt you have one for it, though. I highly doubt it. Because those people that you called on your phone through the digital apps, they're also working a job, Leadhead. They're working a job to be of value to society and to themselves. They're not just lounging around in their house doing nothing.
Oh my god. No, seriously. All I do is talk about Thief 2. These people seriously get me. This right here, this is what the American dream is all about. I started my own career, and now everybody adores me for the successful, motivated individual that I am.
Coping?
Oh. There's a fanfic about my wedding night with one of my staff members. You know, maybe I should have realized sooner that that career making video essays about games, though successful, wasn't making me happy at all. The empty rooms in my apartment were just a reminder that nobody else would ever see them. The YouTube comments from other gamers watching my stuff, calling me a genius or an idiot, the rapid growth of all my little YouTube numbers, the chain of boring grinder men I'd visit for unfulfilling nights with no emotional strings attached.
Too much information we didn't fucking ask for.
The memories of friends who I had lost touch with because they were unable to keep up with my ever-worsening addiction to praise. The second I turned off my computer and went to bed, all of that noise, all that attention would give way to the catastrophic silence of success and an individualistic culture. I'm not saying that the videos I was making back then were worthless or anything. I actually think they were pretty good, but I sure was working at that metaverse Chipotle. All I was creating was background noise, and all that I was giving to people was an excuse for them to quit having their own ideas about all these games that they loved so much, and which...
Pause. No, you weren't. Shut up. Stop that. You're not that important. No person who gives opinions about video games can make a person stop having interesting thoughts, turn their brain off, and say, I don't have to think about it anymore. Because realistically, if they're able to do that, they were already going to do that without your involvement. It's like this opinion that came up during the time of Twin Peaks: The Return. I forget what content creator did it. It was mentioned offhanded by Red Letter Media when they talked about it. But it was basically the opinion of, I figured out the entire backstory and lore and the context of David Lynch's newest offering about Twin Peaks. Ever since Firewalk with Me, a lot of his intention was trying to get people to understand the idea of what it is he's trying to communicate with Twin Peaks. And that is itself an ineffable task. But he made content, he gave it to people, and then he allowed them to come to whatever conclusion a person can make from their work. If a person went into that content creator's work, watched that review, that breakdown, where they then took credit saying, I'm the one that figured out this piece of material, and all it really resulted in was people now saying, well, that guy's figured it out. There's nothing further to talk about. There's no more interest. There's no more intrigue. There's no more discussions. There's no more defense. There's no more this. There's no more that. It would be cope. It would be cope. It would be a level of laziness that would not encourage people to make and to craft, because they wouldn't be inspired to. Where's the inspiration to make content at that point? Nowhere. Because how are they supposed to care about the material that they're supposed to be taking content on if they can't even bring themselves to care about the potential thing that they're supposed to be interested in, intrigued by, a part of the process for? A person that would sit there and say, actually, I no longer have to think about this content because somebody already did it for me, is itself a cop-out answer. Because it means they're not deeply curious about shit.
Said so many things to them. My work, for all the love that I poured into it, was unable to give me any love back. All it did was hurt me. All that success under capitalism did for me was make me content in loneliness, and all it did for anybody else was keep them glued to their computers for a few hours longer.
So, in other words, you don't love what you're doing, therefore it was not a hobby, and it was not a career path, it was just a job. And eventually, you got tired of that job because you weren't getting the dopamine hit that you actually wanted. Perhaps you should go back to just being a porn star, so you can get attention and validation for your trans cuck porn. Maybe that's what you gotta do. I don't know, bro.
I went from being an individual to being isolated, and no real good came out of any of it for anybody except a few advertising companies and a couple viewers getting put onto some good games. Nowadays, I struggle to make rent. There's hardly any audience for my weird, personal videos, but these videos mean a lot to a few people, and they actually improve those people's lives by being cautionary tales or advice or even just solidarity for the folks who have been in similar situations to me. Money's...
How many people find themselves in similar situations to you, where they are having sex with their friends because they are incapable of having a personality of their own? How many people can actually say that they're doing that? I bet that number is lower than 50%. That is lower than 33.
Tight, but this feels a lot better than turning all the art that I love and all the opinions that I have into products marketable to as many people as possible.
That's the thing, Leadhead. You're not making content, you're making art. It is both. Despite being starving artists, I cannot believe how many people do not understand what art is. Because they have some artsy-fartsy vision of what they think real art is and what real art should be, instead of the shit that they're doing.
Let me tell you why this is a job, but my old style of content was simply employment. See, back then, Patreon was just a little side thing. YouTube ad revenue was what it was all about. I just had to...
Oh my god, they're gonna make the small baby argument. I can't, I don't care. I don't care, Leadhead. I don't care. I super don't care.
Be worthy of being background noise for a couple 100,000 people, and I was succeeding. Nowadays, my ad revenue is so insubstantial that I spent 6 months making a video that I knew from moment one that I wouldn't be able to monetize. Patreon's my jam now. See, my audience is way smaller, but my real audience, the Patreon supporters and YouTube members, are all folk who think that my videos are important enough to support in the creation of.
They are people who like to fund your complete downward spiral, and you should look at them as cautionable, because they don't really like you. They like watching you crash out. They like watching you get involved. They like watching you hurt yourself. And that's not really an audience member. Mind you, we don't like you neither, but I at least am not going to lie to you. These people will lie to you if it gets them more entertainment and more content from you. That in and of itself is a sham. Whether you realize and figure that out is on you. Because we're also not your keepers.
Every time I drop a video, I get DMs from people telling me that everything I worked for, all the heartache and anxiety that's attached to each video's production for me, was worth it. because it helped them grow past the very things that I struggle to grow past in the videos. Nowadays, I don't work at a metaverse Chipotle. I'm not just a statistic for advertiser bots to scan and input an appropriate response towards. No, I'm creating stuff that has real value, if only for a couple hundred people. But let's move this video away from just being my experience with the digital spliff. It turns out
It'll never not be that. Click on the button.
there are a whole lot of people who still work at the metaverse Chipotle because it's their only option left for survival under these material circumstances. Recently,
And that's fine. You just have to take responsibility for it and treat it like what it is, which is an opportunity. Most things in this world and life are opportunities to make improvements and to get better. As long as you take it as an opportunity to get better, and then actually get better, then there is no problem.
that one big, heavily politicized event involving a right-wing commentator and a rifle, I saw a video of a man shouting at his phone about the news, easily securing himself a viral TikTok, while dozens of people were screaming and falling all over each other to get away from the crime scene safely. He was literally blocking the path that they were trying to use so that he could vlog for a second and shout out some search engine optimizing phrases, completely unfazed by the death that he had just witnessed.
Charlie Kirk, Outer TikTok, Mormon Central, Utah. There was a gun that just fired off here at Charlie Kirk. I am not playing with y'all. Hey, make sure you go to church on Sunday.
Similarly, did you know that there are guys that hang around the US-Mexican border so that they can interview people who just crossed illegally for their TikTok accounts? Pretty disgusting, dehumanizing behavior, if you ask me. Ooh, or...
Yeah, it's almost like when you have people who are so close to an issue that they are actively pushing their friends in the form and lines of fire by trying to get as much monetizable interaction and engagement as possible by constantly offending themselves and hurting themselves with more and more ties to things that they claim are problems, but as long as they get paid, it's fine at the end of the day. What does that sound like, Leadhead? Does it sound like the cope cycles that were revolved around people such as Keffels from people like Tipster? Do you think it sounds like that? I think it sounds like that. I think somebody like Keffels being kept along and kept involved in politics by someone like Tipster is a very shitty and very irresponsible thing to do. I think it puts them at risk. I think that not only does it put them at risk, it puts everything they believe in at risk. Because then it's not just some guy or some girl. It's somebody who you know.
What about those YouTubers who harass homeless people or make exhibitions of poor villages in all those countries that were ravaged by British and American imperialism? Stuff like this is really all that's left for the American dream for the common man. Every significant piece of the pie has already been purchased and sealed away in the vaults of generational wealth.
Well, that's just not true, because then nobody would be able to live in America, and it would have already fallen into a plutocracy, and then a corporatized state faster than you could say communism. So, again, cope.
Sometimes large sums of money move from one rich person to another, but for us, the regular people living under capitalism instead of on top of it, all we really have is the rare chance to paint rich people's houses or to open a trendy, indistinguishable business on a gentrified city block that probably used to be a poor neighborhood and definitely used to be indigenous land.
Or you could ask H Bomber Guy for some of that Nebula cash that you're trying to get on, since you want to become a Nebula nigga. Yeah, you can do that. Because if you want to talk about unfair levels of generational wealth, let's talk about people like Jesse Gender. Let's talk about people like Philosophy Tube. Let's talk about people like H Bomber Guy. Let's talk about your particular friends and family and all the other people who you're associated with and you would fall into the political group of that made Patreon into what Patreon is, which is basically a hug box for leftists. If you are a person of notoriety that could get looked at as a bad person, a shitty human being. Because y'all motherfuckers have more money than God. And you still complain!
Or making it big online and becoming a sellout, finally having access to the opportunity to turn struggling human beings into ad revenue. Obviously, this isn't how it goes for everybody. Some people manage to use the power of the internet to do cool, interesting, or helpful things, and sometimes they even make a career out of it. But for most folks, getting big on social media is the clearest opportunity to someday buy a house and actually own something under capitalism. And that's why so many prominent figures in the world today have podcasts. Social media is one of the last accessible entry points into the American dream for so many people. Under the modern American value system, that guy in Utah would have been a fool not to pull out his phone and start vlogging within a minute of the gunshot. There's the stated purpose of the American dream, the ideal behind it all, and then there's the material reality of where we're at in 2025. And, well, this TikToker is part of that material reality.
Are you a part of that material reality? Going onto the internet, talking about things that you don't fully understand and coming up with words to go along with that word salad you put on my table with that bullshit salt vinaigrette? Is it part of your job existence to be a part of that zeitgeist, to insert yourself into the topics? Because you just inserted yourself into Charlie Kirk, you realize. Yeah, well, you just inserted yourself into the murder of Charlie Kirk in the most obnoxious way you possibly could. By saying, oh, well, you see, that guy would have been silly not to have been able to monetize him. And not, wow, I can't believe that fucking loser tried to monetize Charlie Kirk's death. That's pretty cringe. It's pretty gay. It's pretty weird. Can't say that. Because then you lose benefit. You can't say that because then you lose benefit.
Let's get away from the internet for a moment, though, and talk about some of the other metaverse Chipotles out there. The other people that our system pays to produce nothing, whose work is busy work and adds nothing to society, but whose stations society insists be filled by somebody with hopes and dreams of their own.
So we have to assume that Metaverse Chipotle is just supposed to be a borrow word for the internet.com. Because if there was a Metaverse Chipotle, I need you to understand, if it was to actually cater to AI women, people would more than likely visit it all the time. Men for the novelty, women for the experience. And yet, that's not something of value to you. People don't need to eat food to live and food to survive. They need to consume your content to eat and survive. Because if you're making money off of them and they're giving you attention, then everything's good. If they don't, then that's gay and cringe. Okay, whatever. I roll. I roll. You're exhausting me into wanting to take another fucking nap.
A classic example of a metaverse Chipotle, a useless job, is the greeters at Walmart. Is anybody
That's not a useless job. Those graders are also asset protection. They come and help spot people that are coming and going and helping asset protection to do their job to protect the safety and security of the store. But you wouldn't know that because you've never been one.
actually happy to see these guys? Every time I see them, I just get depressed. It's so incredibly sad to see people that old still working at Walmart. They're old enough now that for many of them, talking to other people is pretty much the only thing left in the world that they can really enjoy completely. And the system that we live in has found a way to commodify even that. All that they do is make the customers depressed and occasionally prevent somebody from stealing shampoo or something. And
shampoo or something. Knowing that the most locked down section is mascara, healthcare products, baby formula, and family planning. Namely, the condoms and pregnancy tests.
all that they earn is enough to keep them showing up every day until they die or become homeless. Why is this a job? Let's say every Walmart has 5 greeters on their payroll. Couldn't each Walmart, say, just give 5 random old people some money every month instead? Maybe this is an overly simplistic way of thinking about it, and I'm sure you can infer that my actual opinion is that Walmart shouldn't exist to begin with. But really, I mean...
So, one of the best and some of the only methods for people that are poor to be able to survive food wage loss and food desert scarcity shouldn't exist because you don't like it. Well, boo fucking who, that's not your call. You don't get to make that value judgment for them.
If nobody wants the greeters there, and the greeters don't want to be there, and the money is getting spent either way, why not just cut out the middleman and let these old people enjoy their old age with some dignity and some financial support from the government, or from Walmart? We've got a lot of jobs like this. The cops that hang out at high schools every day but don't do it.
Off-duty cops, on-duty cops, cops that are at that facility specifically because that school happens to have people that are violent. Reasons why you don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Do anything when the students are actually in danger. Bank tellers that spend a huge portion of their time doing repetitive tasks that an ATM could achieve faster, cheaper, and easier. Folks working the counter at fast food.
For the same reason that they have counters and tellers is because it works. It works. That's why they have them. You still need to have people that operate those systems, by the way. And for every automated system that can be used, you have people that are tellers that specifically are designed to assist those that are being accessed for security purposes. You see, by creating too much automation, you lose the part of society that's necessary, which is engagement. You're effectively calling for a lack of engagement.
Food restaurants when people could easily just place orders on their phone or a tablet in the store. No shade to any of these people, except the cops. It's just a shame that they have to work these crappy jobs in spite of all of our amazing technology. Self-checkout, automatic sprinklers, vending machines, traffic lights. Our technology has proven that it's more than capable of replacing so many horrible, repetitive soul...
There's a difference between, man, I should replace the greeter at Walmart with, why do we even need to have traffic laws anyways? It's like listening to the wrongest opinions from the time of Ironheart. I swear to God it is. I swear to God it is. Bro, I swear to fucking Christ. This absolute dog shit behavior and opinions that effectively result in nothing but the stupidest takes.
Crushing jobs. And like, sure, it's nice to have that human interaction, and I can see the virtue in trying to preserve that aspect of commerce, but... No, you said it. There's no but. That's the reason. Shut up. That is the reason, shut up. You're doing it on purpose then. That is annoying, Leadhead. It is annoying when you pretend you don't understand how society works. And then you say the answer and say, well, you see, but it's different. It's different. See, you gotta understand, it's different because I said. That's what makes it irritating. That's what makes it hard. That's what makes people hate you. Man, I would happily take a cold, impersonal computer interface at a fast food restaurant if it meant one more person just didn't have to work at a fast food restaurant. Unfortunately, that's not really what happens when we invent a machine to do a human's menial, repetitive job. Instead, our society creates fake jobs for these employmentally displaced people, and when we can't come up with fake jobs, we just let those people starve. Because we have some sort of a stigma against unemployment in this country, and because of that stigma, we act like it's a bad thing when somebody creates a machine that can do food prep at McDonald's, even though nobody in the world actually wants to be doing that job.
Say that to the career employees and the career managers that made those jobs possible. Say that to the person who originally invented the brand McDonald's. Say that to the man that then made the brand McDonald's into what it is today. Somebody saw interest and value in the thing that you are currently besmirching, which means on top of not understanding money, per capita, concepts, politics, you also don't understand branding and syndication. And boy, that explains fucking lot. Here you are trying to talk about opinions that have no application to real-world breakdowns of how business is done. And it's just basically, where, woe is me. People don't give me enough money anymore. While actively not telling the truth about people's outcomes in the world of today. Truly, how fucking unique.
The result of all of this is that we have a lot of people doing useless work who could, in theory, just be getting free money. And
they don't need to be getting free money. They need to be given an incentive to work and then be given the assistance to continue trying to work towards that generous goal. Because if you just give them free money, then they don't actually make anything of any value, Leadhead! Universal basic income does not mean to be a lazy oaf and do nothing of value on the internet. If I can be able to look at your retarded content and also play video games at the same time, it is possible that we can learn how to do two things at the same time as well. Even then, even if you wanted to just make them a slave to the business where they can't leave the building and do anything else outside the building, that doesn't mean that they can't learn how to do their job well. Because that's what they signed a contract to do at the tenant will of service. Unless they live in one of those states that doesn't have at will employment. Which, while bullshit on the side of the company, on being able to hire and fire you at any point at all, for any purpose, any reason in perpetuity, until into infinity, it also gives people the ability to say, you know what, I don't want to put up with these conditions anymore. But you see, at the same time, those people who choose to say that don't get to then complain about their lack of opportunities in the world. Because they have one, / had one, they let it slip, they didn't capture it, and they're mad that they are in a position such as this. And while cringe, it doesn't undo the fact that that comes from a place. It comes from a place for a reason. And you cannot unfuck that reason. No matter how bad you try to. Or want to.
instead, without, substantially changing anything for any other party. So why does this concept sound so alien and absurd?
First world problems. Never-ending first world problems, man.
Here in America, we've all been made to think that the second that somebody gets money without doing work, they'll just sit around the house smoking weed all day, soaking up everyone else's resources and contributing nothing.
When influencers get to that level of having money, they actively do that, yes. Yes, people turn into Caseytron. Case example, Caseytron.
I've got some serious problems with that notion. Let's say...
Then do the best you can to disprove it. Go into politics. Change people's minds about it. Do something. Make an effort.
that somebody who doesn't have a job but is able to afford housing and food wants to have a family. Is that not, in and of itself, a societal good?
No! If they can't afford to have a family, they can't have one. They have to work for it. Children are expensive. Houses are expensive. Family dynasties are expensive. You cannot be a stoner loser freak and say, one day I should be able to have children and still be a loner freak. You must elevate yourself.
Maybe one of those elderly greeters at Walmart would love to write their memoirs if they could find the time. That sounds like a societal good to me.
They could probably do so on their personal time, if not during the middle of their break, or they can find a way to record it as an audiobook. They have the technology, they have the situation. If they don't have the drive, then that is not my problem.
Wouldn't it be cool if all those college kids working at grocery stores or gas stations, doing work that could easily be done without human intervention realistically, could just focus on their studies and help to speed up the scientific and cultural development of humanity?
Yeah, if they're able to keep themselves from acting like they're a Super XO girl, who wants to be a paleontologist slut, which doesn't make sense to me. But hey, that's a choice they chose to make.
Personally, I think it'd be awesome if all those guys trying to find virality on social media were free to express themselves without having to commodify their personalities.
But they can, and many of them do. It's just that the majority of you have made it into an attention economy where everyone is supposedly doing the same thing. And so to stand out, they have to do something crazy and weird. Crazy and weird. And have to do something crazy and weird. Which in and of itself then says, well, why would I look at this content creator? They're giving away the pink starfish, but they give away the pink starfish and then suck it for free. I'm going over here. That's how people look at it.
Teachers have to pay for their own classroom supplies and can barely make ends meet afterwards, and yet they still become teachers. Turns out financial incentives aren't the only thing that can motivate somebody to benefit society. It's funny how that works. And you know what? If a few people do just want to sit around their house smoking weed, so be it. I'd rather they be living their lives how they want to than to see them forced to work a useless job just so that they can go home and smoke weed anyways. Let these destined stoners put down the digital spliff and return to the natural harmony of the traditional analog spliff. Do we really care if it hurts Walmart's profits? The only reason that I can think of that anyone would ever defend this system is because they think that someday they might rule within it. Or, even more naively, that the people who currently own these businesses somehow earned the power to control the government. Elon Musk just worked really hard.
And Elon Musk, there we go. So, nothing about any of the other businesses that extract wealth value out of the public for a value that has empty calories? Because you want to know what a fake job is? Being a fucking owner of a subscription service, like Netflix. That's a fake job. The people who specialize in cutting content out of the world and destroying creativity, like Time Warner, Discovery, those are fake jobs. But unfortunately, Zaslav is a real person. But nothing to say about that for the arts, huh? Fuck all them people. Boo-foo. Bye as fuck you.
So he deserves $1 trillion and an unelected seat in the government. It's not the smartest way to think, if you ask me. The common man's place under capitalism used to be defined by doing a job that directly helps your community in a way that nothing but a human could achieve. And they'd take that money and go out and own things. It's a decent idea, but now so many of us do useless jobs that help nobody, and for so little pay that none of us are going to be owning anything anytime soon. We talk so much about waste in this country, maybe we should start worrying about, the man-hours and human lives that we're wasting.
You don't care about the man-hours and human lives that are wasted in the jobs that you don't already respect, that you already disrespect. So, what are we talking about, Leadhead?
Say whatever you want about how Walmart's a private company and how they shouldn't be forced to pay people just to exist, but...
Excuse me, is that not the leftist argument of they're a private company and they can do what they want? Oh, they're a private company and they're leftists and they agree with me and they can do what they want. Except when I want their money. Then they're stealing from the people and they need to be forced to give their money away because that's real praxis! Moreover, on the unelected portion of the government, how about all those leftists that are in unelected positions, or worse, the elected ones, that are in positions of power because they sucked enough cock inside of the Democratic Party to permanently keep people in a cycle of entitlements where they can't do better for themselves and have to stay on those entitlements that then keep them a wage slave for voting blue no matter who. Because if they ever get off of them, they would not have a way to be able to get back stable in their life, on their feet, because they would have to always be basically taking worse and worse deals for themselves instead of taking better and better deals for themselves, or going into business for themselves.
That's kind of just a philosophical argument. That's the American dream, because...
It's just philosophical when I argue and threaten to steal another job's business and efficacy because I don't like them existing in the way that they currently do. Yeah, it was just, it wasn't a threat. It wasn't a threat. It was just a rumor, It was just a rumor.
If you owned a business, you'd want absolute control over your income. The material reality we exist in is that Walmart, or whatever corporate macroorganism employs you, has power over you. And unless you're a criminal, they probably have a bigger role in your life than the state has. Corporations are the primary power that we bend the knee to in this country. And therefore, so-called private enterprises like Walmart should be taking care of their citizens, us, not the other way around.
They do.
We can't judge us.
They do. They give people that are on the payroll the ability to have loans to afford cars, to be able to then buy the car outright. They are willing to give people time off and days off on a very, 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 very lenient point system that gives them points and half points for attendance. It's a very simple system where if you go over the point value, you get fired. But if you're capable of negotiating and collaborating and speaking with your team member and with your supervisors, they're more than happy to give you the time you need off to deal with problems as they pop up and arise. But you can't be a lazy bastard who does no work at all and still absorbs a paycheck, because that's you not doing material effort work.
Socioeconomic system on the philosophy behind it, or its stated goal. We have to judge it on the results, the material reality that it produces for its people. The material reality that we live under here in America is that corporations control the flow of our lives. They turned this beautiful, beautiful country that we all live in into one great big metaverse Chipotle. And they aren't beholden to us or to any of the folks that we elect. Okay, that got a little bit off track. See,
as opposed to whenever you speak usually and it's still off track?
this whole narrative that people will just be lazy and contribute nothing without the constant threat of homelessness and starvation, that's not an opinion from anybody that I've ever heard actually working one of these useless jobs. Only rich people say stuff like that. Unfortunately, pushing that narrative is like the final boss of the American dream. The American dream isn't to end tyranny or class violence or to liberate folks from poverty. No, it's just to escape those things personally.
That's your opinion. It's not the reality of it.
Americans chasing that dream don't want to destroy the metaverse Chipotle, they want to own it. You just gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and anyone who can't manage it must not have wanted it enough. So the big, powerful voices beat this narrative into us. Walmart acts like it's doing us a civil service by hiring desperate elderly people to work a useless, demeaning job in their final years. Because according to the employers, employment is a virtue in and of itself. When we see a single mother working multiple jobs, we don't help them at all, and we don't attack the system that forced them into that position. We just applaud them for being decent employed folk. They get to be the subject of some faraway politician's speech about the American spirit. Let's take this a step further, though. I've already lost every viewer that I'm gonna lose with this video. So let's talk about jobs that don't contribute...
No, don't put that past yourself. Here's a chance you might lose some more.
...nothing to the world, but that probably shouldn't exist. See, some jobs do indeed help people, but they don't help a lot of people. Only a handful.
You mean like how you're being helped when you are recording inside of the Walmart and probably did so without asking permission?
Handful of people that really don't need any more help. How about the guys who created Denuvo or EA Origin, or those marketers who came up with the new Coke gimmick to sell more original Coke, or lawyers that exclusively work for companies like Coke or EA, or the people who, like I said earlier, came up with personalized pricing where different people have to pay different prices for the same things based on what the data tracking network says about their spending habits. What about the guys who create advertisements for toothpaste that works the exact same as every other type of toothpaste, but...
There are different types of toothpaste on that line that do not work the same as others. There are activated charcoal that has greater whitening power. There is Sensodyne that has the intention of trying to help heal the microabrasions and fractures in your teeth so that you don't have to take additional. There is the small fluoride and the large fluoride that effectively sticks something up your throat and down your nose to push it out the other end, or to attempt to alleviate the problem by removing the blockage from the other end, which usually then leads to tonsil cleanings. The same level of maintenance on yourself, as well as maintenance upon the body politic of the United States of America in concerns to the workers, they're all the same thing, Leadhead. They all go together. They all go together.
But costs more. Or the people who work in stores that only ever get rich customers who could probably find another handbag somewhere if they really needed it. Sure, a few rich people are probably happy that they exist, but is that a societal good that's worth hundreds of thousands of hours of people's lives? I would argue that it's not. Would society go on well enough if people working those jobs just didn't show up tomorrow? Yeah, I think so. Let's just give them some money instead. Who cares if some rich windbag messes up their drive because the golf course wasn't mowed to spec? By the power of the indomitable human spirit, society will survive that blow, I'm sure of it.
But not without you kvetching while doing it, while trans.
We've already got a pretty big list of jobs that any sane country would just get rid of and replace with something less excessive and wasteful of human life. Let's take it a step further. Let's talk about jobs that don't contribute nothing to the world, that don't contribute nothing to the rich, but instead actively do harm. As I'm sure you can imagine, we've got a lot of jobs like that in this country too. This isn't even the Metaverse Chipotle anymore, this is the Metaverse ExxonMobil boardroom. You only get a job here if you Wu-Tang the digital spliff. Alright, I'm not even gonna be cute about this part. Let's just cut out some evil jobs. Fire all the ICE agents, fire all the oil executives, fire all the prison manufacturers and corporate lobbyists, fire Mark Zuckerberg, fire all the corporate-level tech employees who happily let their products get worse and more harmful to our exchange of ideas and our historical record in pursuit of higher revenue.
Opinion. Very opinionated. But okay. Where's the money come from, genius?
Fire all those Chiquita executives who started a war over bananas. Fire every mercenary who participated in those wars. Fire all the...
You can't fire a mercenary, Leadhead. That's why they're mercenaries. They're guns for hire.
Folks at Gerber who lied to African women posing as medical experts and telling them that their breast milk was unsafe for infants and sold them their baby formula instead. Fire all those U.S. Public Health Service employees who deliberately lied to random black men in Tuskegee with syphilis, saying that they were now cured, and then sent them off to spread the disease to their loved ones.
You're just labeling things off now and trying to look for people to get in sympathy, and they're not the same thing. And they're outside the scope of the capitalism that you're trying to quote on. Because you're trying to make an argument about cronyism, not actual ethical market capitalism. But you don't believe there's anything called ethics under capitalism, because if you did that, where's the list about all the bread tubers who led to negative outcomes in people's lives by having their money be given to them wasting it, and them actively destroying someone over the fact that they paid to help their fave, and their fave fucked them in the ass? Again, cringe.
Fire whoever the fuck decided that Army recruiters should have financial incentives for catfishing high schoolers with fake social media accounts posing as high school girls. Okay, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Sorry, I got a little bit political there. Point is, when we start looking past the ideal that we were all sold on, the American dream, and start looking at the actual material conditions that we exist in, a whole lot of how our society is structured stops making sense.
To you, the commie who wants everything for free.
The closer that we look at these material conditions, the more sense it makes to gut so many of these useless jobs, force corporations to pay their fair share of taxes for the power that they wield, and instill a universal basic income, where everybody gets the money that they need to rent out one of those apartments, which
to you, the commie who doesn't understand how money works.
Have enough vacancies to house every homeless person in America more than 18 times over. If the landlords respond to this by trying to jack up the price of rent past what the UBI can cover, just don't let them. It's that simple. Just don't let them do that obviously evil thing. Although really, the closer we look at universal basic income and the folks that would benefit, the more that we have to acknowledge that this whole money thing has kind of failed completely. Money is nothing but an arbitrary standard that we use to justify facts like there being, I'm going to say this again, 18 times more vacant apartments than there are homeless people in the country. Money is nothing but a tool to keep people like you and me from having a place at the same table as our equally human, equally fallible, equally hungry, but disproportionately powerful brothers and sisters.
They're not your brothers, they're not your sisters, they're your competitors and your rivals, and you need to get good. Secondly, you would not invite people like me to the table because you believe that I shouldn't have rights and I shouldn't have the ability to do this job. Because you believe that as a communist, that praxis is when left-wing smothers everybody to death and forces them to go along with their worldview. That kind of tyrancy is the reason why people are against you in the first place.
Is it better to pay people to do nothing or to pay people to do harm? If we can afford the latter, surely we can afford the former. One last question, though, to end this off. Why, oh why, do so many of us sneak off into the high school bathroom, hit that digital spliff that is American exceptionalism, buy into the American dream?
You have to mean that you're going on Twitter when you say that. That has to be what you mean.
And end up wasting our lives at a metaverse Chipotle.
Made with the help of her loved ones and music from West Cross, Matt Christensen, Carl Flood City Wine. And I see they're going to keep going with the pseudo-punk metal band labeling here. So literally, we need UBI. People don't have real jobs. They don't have real jobs because I decided that they don't have real jobs. They need to be forced to give people real jobs. They don't know how to do... Oh my god! Fucking... Tiring people into a fucking insomniatic slumber, bro. Tiring people into an insomniatic slumber. Oh my lord. Have fucking Christ on goddamn high. So, Leadhead. When BlackRock inevitably claims your house, and then everybody else's houses through their sublet companies like SEE, which happens to be the insured bracketer that is responsible for renting and becoming the landlords and the landowners that control those properties that people are going to be living out of, when all of the other landlords have been pushed out of having houses because you stole their content and you stole their money and you told people to squat on the property and destroy the place and wreck up the place with this tactic that has just been instituted by Momdi in New York City. When you inevitably don't have a place to live, and a pot to piss in, and people are squatting in your home using your appliances, assuming this is even a thing you could be capable of doing, because I doubt you'd be able to understand the context of that. While you put together the Pretty Pony Club in your mind about who's safe and who's not safe, you have to have some result better than we should give Gibbs free money. Just give everybody a gimme that. That's not going to result in anything. It's going to result in more people poorly spending that money than properly spending that money, bro. It's going to result in more people wasting that money than properly using it. It can be understood that there are going to be plenty of people who actually need the help, and thus actually need the monetization, and thus actually need the material. But there are so many fucking lazy people that have no interest to that ameliorative process, and it's just a way for them to nepotistically make it about themselves. It is the case that that not be the focus and the function. Oh, it's fucking, oh my god, I hate it. There's so much, there's too much stupid. There's too much stupid that I can't address with this level of slumber on my mind. Mark. Okay, chat, here's what I'm going to do. The time currently is 4:29. I have things I need to do. I'm going to return somewhere later in the evening, and we're going to do the other video. I'm sorry to have to leave you like this, but I need to go do those things. Fucking, oh my god. If I could just bypass another fucking commie telling me about universal basic income while having no understanding of how to do that fucking job, it will be too goddamn fucking soon. I swear to God. Okay. Going to go do those things. You'll find me back here somewhere around about 6:30, 7:30.